Hey everybody, Hernke here. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm joined by a very special guest, Catherine Sy Luib. Kathy, how are you?
Great.
Good, good.
Thank
Dr.
you for
Cat.
having me.
She goes by
Yeah.
Dr. Cat. Thank you so much for coming out. It's great to have you here in Oceanside while I'm here working, and I know you got a very busy schedule. So tell us, you're an acupuncturist, a herbalist, chiropractor. How did you get started in all that? What age were you when you got started in all that stuff?
So I got my doctorate degree when I turned 25. And when I graduated with both disciplines. I graduated with the Doctor of Chiropractic as well as the Masters of the Acupuncture and Chinese Medicine. And so 25 years old was that moment in my life where I became a full-fledged clinician in the field and opened up my office and started caring for patients.
That's awesome. Where did you open up your office?
It started in Riverside County, so for those familiar with Moreno Valley and Beaumont, I had an office in each location. And shortly after that, I also was able to get a career, ocean practice, specifically with the cruise ship industry. And I had a 3-treatment room clinic integrated with the spa. Did that for 2 years and then decided that ocean practice was great while it lasted. I saw like more than 20 different countries and really made an amazing life during those 2 years, but focused now on land practice and open in San Diego.
Oh, that's so cool. So you went from land to water, then back to land.
Yeah.
Now, opening up those offices, was it a difficult thing? Did you have a lot of help finding locations to open them up?
When I graduated, it was one of those things where I decided for myself if it was a good idea for me to go work for other chiropractors, other offices, other doctors to learn the ropes. But I guess being confident in just starting business all by myself and for myself, I just decided to go at it solo practice. So I actually bypassed all of that and started diving into just how to be an entrepreneur. Yeah, from the get-go. Yeah.
Now, when you go on the ships, was there different companies that you worked for, or was one specific cruise line that you were working on, if you're allowed to say?
Yeah, totally. So Steiner Cruise is the one that's hiring us as the independent contractors to the cruise ship spa departments. And I worked for the Royal Caribbean Cruise Line and the Celebrity Cruise Line.
Oh, okay. Is there any interesting experiences that happened on the ship?
So one of the interesting things that I experienced when I was working on the cruise ship was just really the irony of the cruise guests that were coming in seeking either beautification or pain relief. They had expendable income, clearly, because they're coming to the spa to spend and enjoy while they're cruising. And one of the things that I really experience on a daily day-to-day thing was actually seeing patients who had to decide whether they wanted to go spend their money for Botox, because I had a colleague that was doing that, the med spa. The doctor would do fillers and such. Or if they wanted to spend their money with me and actually start feeling better. So, interesting case was a lady coming in. She was probably well into her 70s. Clearly she had a hard time with a lot of pain, and walking was a challenge for her. But she would end up going next door to get Botox. This particular person never made it to my office in terms of as a patient, but as an empath and as someone who can feel very easily, I did feel that death was like right next to her, and it was just a really sickening feeling because it was as if she was walking in decaying herself, and she had death around her, next to her, and it just felt, it's a normal part of life and death, but when you actually see or feel rather an entity that's just right waiting for that person any moment, it was just the weirdest thing that I experienced on the cruise ship.
Was there a scent to it too, like you could physically smell it too? Oh man.
Yeah, there definitely was a scent, and it's almost like a cloud where when somebody walks they leave a perfume. It's like as soon as she would leave my office after her consultation with me, there would be that stench that lingers, and it's like kind of like a putrefying smell, and it was very sickening. She would come in again the next day to go through the same process of consultation, but never wanting to commit herself for care. And instead she would get more Botox. So it's like, what do you do with people like that whose priorities are screwed, that they're just, they don't understand where the priority should be. Or if it be that her priority was to look beautiful as she exits this world, that's probably her priority.
There you go.
Yeah.
So you were pretty much on call on the ship.
Yeah.
Did you get any calls at ungodly hours of the morning? No, it was all during the day.
It was during business hours. Thank
goodness.
And the reason why is because I actually classified as an officer with a ranking on the ship, and the great thing too with that is I had my own cabin. I had everything taken care of. When it was time to go off port, I had the freedom to do so compared to other colleagues of mine that were stuck on the ship, and they had their superiors that would then excuse them to leave to go off port. So definitely during business hours, but the nature of the job was very revenue based, so you had to definitely bring in numbers, and for me it was very easy to communicate health, and to also upgrade patient care. And so I actually was the #1 acupuncturist in the entire fleet. So it was something that really brought a lot of joy for the spa departments, and they wanted me to actually go into training for other acupuncturists coming in, that I can help them with building their revenues. So that was actually a really fun time in my life.
Awesome. How many acupunctures do you do a day?
When on the cruise ship, it does fluctuate depending on the itinerary, the length of the itinerary. So, say on a 7-day cruise, I could treat anywhere from 10 guests to sometimes even 20 guests. And if it's a 2-week itinerary, it would even increase. So at most, I would bring in at least $5,000 of revenue for one ship day.
Wow. Yeah. That's incredible.
Yeah, and that was a busy day. 5,000, and then you have 7 days, so yeah.
Oh, it adds up. Definitely adds up. So we discussed earlier about you can see entities in people's eyes when you look in their eyes. You can see their soul, but you see something else. I would love for you to touch a little bit about that. What's been your experience doing all of that?
So another example was on the cruise ship. A gentleman came in seeking care. The daughter had to explain to me what was happening to her father. And so the nature of his disease at the time, it was really sounding very much like schizophrenia. And that, according to what we have been trained, and at the time, is definitely something we need to refer out for, because it's not something that the Western doctors would think to have an acupuncturist treat, although in Chinese medicine we do border and help with spirit dysfunction and mental dysfunction. So what I saw when he spoke, clearly you could see the spirit through the person's eyes, but I felt as if somebody, or something rather, another entity also resided in there. And it was in the manner in which he also was clearly seeking help that made me as a practitioner feel for him, because he really wanted genuine assistance for the issue. So he would share that the entity would cause him to hurt himself and cause him to throw himself and cause him harm. So and it's one of those things where it's like, is it schizophrenia alone, or is there actually another entity, right? But I had to tell him that I couldn't take him as a patient for the nature of the cruise, that wasn't the place, and I had to recommend him to another doctor. But when I see through the eye, that's when you can see that there is another presence in there. And in Chinese medicine, we do teach that you can see the Shen, or the spirit, through the eyes. So the eyes being portals and windows, you can see.
Right.
Yeah. So I can actually feel. So it wasn't quite seeing something per se as an image, but it was a presence that I could feel. So as an empath, I could also feel. That's what I was telling me that day from meeting that person, was that there was something, and I felt for him, because it's like you want to help, right? But at the time I didn't have the tools in place, wherein now I have the tools in place, and we can actually help patients in our office. So our office, we're located in San Diego, centrally, and we have already worked with cases where patients coming in initially for pain, but the pain was caused by a spiritual entity, and we were able to address that.
Okay. So when you say spirituality, do you classify a demon as one of those?
So in this particular case for this person, and for our office, we're bringing in Filipino indigenous medicine. Our understanding is different from a lot of Western thought. Here in the West, we think of a lot of things from the Judeo-Christian perspective as devil or demons. In this particular case, it was an elemental spirit. And this elemental spirit was actually given to him when he was a young boy. So this given to him by his grandpa, who acquired this elemental spirit, and it became an heirloom. So it's as you would when, like, your grandma gives you a gift from the mineral kingdom. She gives you like a gemstone, right? That's passed down generation after generation. Or if, say, somebody gives you a plant and entrusts you to take care of the plant, that's from the plant kingdom. Or even, say, as simple as a dog from the animal kingdom, right? So this particular case, his issue had a lot to do with that spirit entity that he didn't take care of, and it became hostile. So it's like a pet, you know, that if you don't have boundaries, rules, regulations, and you don't train it or show it affection, you don't walk it regularly, you don't have relationship, that pet, that dog, can start pooping and peeing everywhere, won't listen to you when you call it. It might even bite you and cause, like, you know, a lot of stress in life. And that's what happened in this particular case, where his heirloom is supposed to be assisting him, and because he never gave it any mind or any love, attention, and so forth, it became hostile.
Wow.
And it caused him
It
pain.
turned on him.
Yeah, it turned on him in a way. Yeah, it can't actually destroy him, but it was giving him grief by causing him pain. And what happened was that he would be protected within his home, because they would cast a protective spell. But the moment he steps outside of his home, that's when this spiritual entity can always invoke or cause him pain. And it started actually in the gym when he was injured.
Wow,
Yeah.
that sounds pretty intense.
So, it started out again, like with most patients that come into our office, they come in for pain or some type of discomfort. So, we are offering Filipino indigenous medicine. We call that Hilot. And after the Hilot session, then I guess he felt so open and free to tell us more insight about his pain, and that he suspected a spiritual entity was involved. And so now that we had further information, we did verify, and it was true. So how we verify at the office is we have diagnostics in place. Our medicine in for Filipino indigenous medicine is very spiritual. It can touch all planes, not just physical. And we have methods of diagnosing. Just as you would any medicine, we have a variety of different modalities, and therapeutics, and herbs to help. So when we actually looked into seeing if that was the case, if his suspicion was true, then we were able to identify the cause of his pain. That one aspect was related to his neck being out of alignment, and two, that there was a spiritual entity that was attached to his pain.
Wow, that is so in depth. Like I would never look at it that way, and that's a really interesting perspective that you put on it.
Yeah. Here in the Western world, we have forgotten our place in terms of our relationship with nature. So here in the Western world, we are very overconsumptious. We consume so much. We have forgotten to respect and have a synergistic relationship with the earth and nature herself. In the Philippines and in other parts of the world, mainly in the eastern part of the globe, they have this understanding, and it's passed down, as you would common knowledge. So in the Philippines, we deal with a lot of things from the elements like the elements of water, earth, air, and fire. So at our office, we are offering Filipino indigenous medicine. Our medicine definitely encompasses a lot of treatments that can help within the mental, emotional, spiritual plane, not just the physical. And when this patient came in initially for pain, he was able to give us further insight. We were able to verify, and that's when we were able to see that his pain was actually connected to that spiritual entity, what we consider encanto. So encanto is enchanted or enchantment or elemental. So when we were able to really find out further, then we were able to connect this elemental spirit that was causing him pain and bring peace and harmony, so that his pain would be relieved in a much more effective, efficient way than just going at it from a physical plane and then never really addressing the root of it all. Here in the Western world, we forget that we have a place amongst nature. And more so in the Eastern world, this is common knowledge, where in the Philippines, particularly with the jungles and the rainforests, many Filipinos understand that these elemental spirits are very real. We call them fairies, we call them gnomes, we call them, all kinds of different names in different parts of the globe. But in the Philippines, we call them these are elemental spirits, encantos, and there are many, right? They live among nature, and they are essentially the intelligence that rises from these elements of water, fire, air, and earth. So they have been charged to protect and keep nature functioning and also in beauty. When we as human beings go to the wild, to the forest, and we chop off trees and we take and we don't have that reverence of nature and the spirits and the entities that dwell there, that's their home, then we risk those imbalances and the disharmony. And so that's why if you go to the Philippines and you are going to the forest, you better do all that you can to be as respectful, because you're walking into territories where it's not your home and you are the visitor.
Exactly. It's like going to Hawaii and taking a lava rock home or just lava sand. You know, Lisa told me don't do that when we go to Hawaii, and I've heard a lot of stories of people doing that, and they had to mail the rocks back, and it's you gotta be respectful.
Yeah, a lot of these things can be, if it was given as a gift from nature and you had the reverence and you were doing it from a place where it wasn't greed, right, then you could be able to get that. But oftentimes in the Western world, we just have this over-consumptive nature and this, mine, and never replenishing and understanding that there is that balance. So in this medicine, we can attend to a lot of this dysfunction and bring back that peace and harmony. So similar to feng shui of the room, there is also that balance within the body and the connection between elemental spirits or entities. And entities can also give rise with ancestors. So, and I want to touch this very importantly, because sometimes we hold on to emotions and thoughts that aren't our own. And it's important for us to recognize and explore if this may be from your ancestors. Usually, if there is in the family someone that is empathic or someone that is sensitive to these spiritual concepts, these ancestors will be targeting that person. And things like issues of depression or anxiety can be transferred onto that person, and they just don't know why they feel that way. They have no understanding that it could be an ancestor that seeks help. So these entities can once again rise from the elementals, from the earth. They can be as well from your ancestors, and they can also be from other entities that are even not of this world.
Wow, that is so in-depth. Well, if anybody is looking for answers or help or seeking help, you can always look to Dr. Kat for all your questions, and she's more than happy to reach out to you. Do you have any websites that people can go visit?
Yeah. So our website is luibhealthcenter.com. So LUIB Health, HEALTH, center.com. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. We really want to do our part to teach others how to experience their best self, their best life, and potential. So we have Instagram page, Facebook page of Time to Eat with Dr. Kat, as well as Health with Dr. Kat. When you go to those pages, you'll see that the message is very in-depth or according to the demographics of our audience. So one is more on food healing, and the other one is everything in terms of what's new, what's happening in our wellness center.
Right on. All the links for that will be down in the description below. Now, in conclusion, do you have any advice that you would like to give to anybody that's aspiring to go down this path to be an acupuncturist, chiropractor, herbalist? Anything you would like to tell them?
Yeah. So I always say that these careers really call the people. These are something that gravitate to these people because either they themselves were healers in past lives, or either that they are light workers. So I would say start there in terms of what type of light worker you may be, and how to explore that within these career fields would be to, see if you have that affinity for using plant medicine, for using your hands, for using things that what we consider alternative medicine are really nothing more than natural primary care. And with all of the natural modalities, if this is something that you want to use yourself, then start first as a receiver. So receive first and see if you like it, then you can look into being a giver of that medicine.
Very well said, Dr. Vigat.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me today. That's all we have for now. Thank you so much for watching. Please support Dr. Kat and her career. Check out the links below. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Hit the notification button below for more interviews, more stuff coming up. Thank you so much again. This is Hans and Dr. Kat signing out.